Hey, Mike here with Canadian musician, and next to me is Canadian country star Dean Brody. Dean, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, you bet, Mike.
So, your latest album, your fourth album, Crop Circles, just came out, I believe it was just yesterday. It's only been a year, roughly, since your third album, Dirt, came out, which really gained you a lot of commercial traction, but 1 year is a pretty quick turnaround as far as album cycles go. Does that mean the songs on the latest album, are some of them leftovers from the Dirt sessions, or was it just you had a batch of songs ready to go already?
Yeah, it's a fresh batch of songs, except for, I think, Kansas Cried, the last track on the record. But yeah, it happens pretty quick, man. Our turnaround now is about 18 months between records. And so there's a lot of pressure to come up with new material, and hopefully good material within that time frame. But I feel really good about Crop Circles.
For as far as your approach to songwriting, the topic matter, but also the sound, was there anything new you were trying out for Crop Circles that might be unfamiliar to Dean Brody fans?
I take risks a little bit as far as production and as far as content goes. The lyrics of everybody will still be able to relate to them. It's definitely a country lyric. The song Crop Circles is a little bit psychedelic. It gets kind of goes into some new territory, but that song's it's about a crazy farmer who thinks aliens are landing in his field. So I tried to make the song almost psychedelic, like you're in this farmer's head and you're going on a trip with him, you know, because it gets kind of wild near the end with the girls singing and stuff.
I heard that.
Yeah.
And well, your manager Katrina was just mentioning to me before we started here that something most people might not expect is that you're actually a big rock music fan. You're not a strictly country fan in your own private listening, I guess. Does that influence your songs, and is it influencing your songs more, it seems, as you go forward? Is that the case?
You know, I think so. I think I'm influenced by everything I listen to, and I listen to a lot of different things, and reggae included. Like I love it all, and so when I sit down to write a song, I kind of let myself go places that maybe aren't quite traditional country. The lyrics still very rooted in country life, but sometimes I'll take a little bit of risk with the production. Yeah.
I guess that reggae influence obviously came out in your song Bob Marley, at least lyrically.
Yeah. I'm a big Bob Marley fan, for sure. That guy can sing, and his songs are great. They're timeless. Yeah, and even on this new record, we have a song called Sand in My Soul that's, I don't know if it'd be reggae inspired as much as just islandy kind of vibe. Yeah.
On the first single to the new album, Bounty, you hooked up with Lindi Ortega. Is it the first time you've worked with Lindy, or how did that come about?
Yeah, no, this was the first time I've worked with Lindy, and it was management hooked me up with Lindy, and I heard a song she wrote called High. I don't know if you're familiar with that song or not, but it's so amazing. It's one of my favorite songs ever. And I heard that song, I was like, oh my goodness, and I asked Matt, my producer, if she could sing on the track, and then he contacted Lindy. Lindy was in Nashville at the time and came in and sang on it and just knocked it out. Yeah.
Speaking of Nashville, you're raised in BC and now live in Nova Scotia, but in between you had a stint living in Nashville. Much like many country singers I've interviewed, including Michelle Wright, Jason Blaine, it seems like everybody spends at least a stint in Nashville. Do you think that's an essential career move for Canadian country singers?
For me it was, because I thought I knew how to write a song, but I really didn't. And Nashville I learned, the thing about Nashville is there's so many people there that have the same kind of dreams and desires, like they want to learn how to write a song, and there's a bunch of different genres represented there too. I'd say Nashville, LA, and New York are probably three of the places that I'd go to learn the craft of writing a song. Like I think those are, for me it was essential, because I was from a small town, didn't have a whole lot of people to collaborate with, and so spending those 6 years in Nashville, I think I really learned how not to write a song, and maybe how to, I don't know, but for me it was important. Yeah.
And so you got into a bit there as far as what you learned in Nashville. You actually went down there, I believe, to work primarily as a songwriter rather than recording your own music. First, how old were you when you went down to Nashville? What were the key things that, I guess technically speaking, about songwriting that you really came out of that with?
Like from moving to Nashville?
Yeah, as far as what you learned in Nashville about songwriting.
Yeah. I learned it was very much lyrically based. Like when I moved to Nashville, I was very melodic. Like it was all about melody for me and how a song felt musically. But I didn't care too much about what I was saying. And I realized really quickly that in Nashville and in country music, you really have to pay attention to what you're saying. And the country audience is very in tune to lyrics. And music's almost secondary to the lyric, whereas I think in pop sometimes the lyric's still secondary to the music. And so, yeah, I learned to concentrate on what I'm saying and hopefully how to say it.
Country music's very akin to folk music, I guess, in that regard. And but with country music, obviously, it's a very American-centric genre. And as a Canadian singer-songwriter, do you make a conscious effort to keep your references Canadian? Obviously, you had the hit song "Canadian Girls," which is about as Canadian as you can get. But is that ever a concern for you? Maybe sounding too American?
It's something I do think about sometimes, but you're right. I mean, a lot of the history of country music and stuff, it's quite deeply rooted in the South, and so yeah, it's a like when I was growing up in BC, I never thought of it that way. That it's an American genre. I just related to what they were saying about growing up in small towns and the small town values that we had, like in BC. And it's funny how those values are celebrated in country music with an American core, I guess, if that's what you would say, that history. But as a kid, I never knew that it was necessarily American. And even as an an adult and traveling around to like Australia and stuff, you realize that people, it doesn't belong just to America. I mean, Australians have embraced it, Canadians have, historically they have, because when you start singing about, the things we sing about, they're really quite universal themes. I think maybe musically, as far as like the instruments used and stuff like that, that's definitely maybe has come more from Appalachian music, and I don't know. That's a good question. It's a multi-layered question, but I don't really think about it much. I think more about small town life, and it's quite universal when it comes down to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess when you were first starting out, maybe growing up a country fan in rural BC, who were your main influences, and has that changed at all as you've gotten older?
When I was a kid, I was into rock. Like that was my thing, right? AC/DC and Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses, and I mean that was really into that kind of stuff. And I kind of drifted into country music because I grew up in the country, and I realized I related to the lyric, what they were talking about. And I think as the production got a little bit more of an edge to it, I was a little bit. That's what kind of drew me in. Like I heard of artists like Dwight Yoakam, and I was like, man, this guy's really cool. He kind of does his own thing. He's a little bit edgy, and I really respected that, and it kind of opened the doors for me to move into country music and really fully embrace it and appreciate it.
And now with Crop Circles, it's your fourth album, obviously, but it also kind of makes you a veteran of the industry at this point. Is there something you've learned over the course of your last 4 album cycles that you maybe wish you had known when you were starting out as when you were releasing your debut album or writing your debut album?
Yeah. I think I write more for the stage now than I used to. I mean, I moved to Nashville to be a songwriter, so I think as songwriters, sometimes I think we can think too much about what we're doing, take it too serious, but you don't realize that people, sometimes they just really want to have a good time, want to escape. And at first I was writing all these deep songs, and it's almost like I didn't know how to have fun. But now it's like I think I've discovered the balance of having fun, and then once in a while getting nostalgic and going a little deeper. But I know when I listen to music, I don't necessarily want to think too much. I want to be able just to take it in, and it's almost like a soundtrack to my life or whatever. So I try and keep that in mind now.
Speaking of that, your songs, many of your songs are really story songs. Bounty's no different. You're talking about how Crop Circles, again, is about a farmer, crazy farmer who's invaded by aliens or something like that. Where do these stories come from in your songs? Are they personal, or are they, I'm guessing the alien ones imagined, but I guess where do those stories come from?
They're usually a mixture of both my own experience and other people's experience. Like, I find my own life sometimes I couldn't write about it all the time. I'd get bored. Yeah. You know, I don't necessarily like thinking about myself or writing about myself a lot, and so I'm fascinated by other people and by their story. And you know, I'm a very visual writer. Like, when I write a song, I see a scene, or I don't know. It's weird. It's like I'm in a movie or something. So yeah, it's a mixture of real life and other people's lives. Yeah.
How does that process start? Do you think of a story you want to tell and then figure out a way to make it a song? Or do you, I guess, just start writing a song and a story emerges? How does that work?
Yeah, I think both ways. Sometimes it's like I have an idea and I'm like, oh, and then I fashion the song around that idea. Yeah. But then sometimes I'll specifically write for, like, Canadian Girls. It's like, okay, I've got a title, Canadian Girls. I'm going to write about Canadian Girls. Yeah. And so then start writing about Canadian Girls. But yeah, a lot of times it just comes out of noodling on a guitar and getting a cool vibe, and then that vibe inspires some kind of place in my life or in someone else's, and then I'll just start writing from there. Yeah, it comes from a bunch of different avenues.
Interesting. And to wrap up here, the album just came out, so I'm guessing you're going to be busy over the next while. What do you have in the works as far as promoting a new album?
Lots of travel and lots of appearances and shows and singing, and I think I might even get a steroid shot this afternoon because my voice is totally thrashed. I can sing really low stuff right now, awesome, but the high stuff's gone. So, but yeah, just really keeping really busy, working on the pre-production for the tour in January, February across Canada. So that's a lot of work. We're moving up into arenas now, and so it's exciting, but it's also daunting. There's a lot of new stuff that we can do because we have the bigger stages now. So just getting ready for that. Hopefully have a couple weeks off at Christmas, and yeah, we'll be out there in February.
Awesome. And I know so that was your last question, but you mentioned how you're moving up to arenas now. Does that change the mindset you're going to have going into shows at all?
I think so, because the biggest thing is, as we go to bigger stages, I still want to be able to connect with my fans, and so there's things you have to do, I think, because the stage does get bigger and your fans come farther away. You want to still make them feel like they're involved and they're close, and that you're able to connect with them. And so there's some things that we incorporate to make sure that still happens. And, you know, like, yeah, yet to be revealed. But yeah, I think it's important to still keep that connection.
Sounds good. Dean, thanks a lot for joining me this morning, and take care of your voice.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man. Thank you.